Hello and hi and welcome back. It's Jess and Rachel. We're here after a month long of vacay, and today we're going to be talking about a big shift that we have seen in the market days. Gone are the days of post a quick story and sell a bunch of freebies. The buyers today or this year are really way more savvier. They're much more cautious with their money and they're way more intentional about doing their homework and making sure that the investment that they're making and where they're putting their cold hard cash is way more intentional than what we have seen in the years previously.
Yeah, so Jess and I are calling this the trust economy. And if you understand what is going on and how this is impacting businesses, maybe your own buying behavior has shifted, you really need to start adapting your marketing to meet buyers where they're at instead of wondering why 2020 strategies are no longer working and all of those fun little tips and tricks that are the online gurus are dropping are just falling flat. So, welcome back to the Deeply Rooted Business Podcast. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So if you're new around here, I'm Jess from the Launch Collaborative. I'm here with Rachel, our marketing mastermind from Gal Agency. And today we're going to be talking about the shift. So let's get into the shift that we've seen. So obviously this year, the economy has been like the number one star of news, I think, maybe. There's been a lot of stars of the news.
There's so many
But
stars.
with tariffs and all the crazy things happening right now, and we can all kind of agree that the economy's future is a bit uncertain. And whenever the economic future is uncertain, buyers will start holding on to their budgets a little bit tighter.
Yeah, it means they're definitely spending is still happening. It's just happening at a much slower pace so that the buyers that, still need to run their businesses, still need to show up and outsource or to have projects completed. They're just doing a significant amount of more research before actually purchasing. So the trust timeline on average, I think what it used to be around 6-ish months. I honestly am seeing decision making head to around a year right now where people are holding and waiting and doing so much more researching. They're comparing competitors, they're waiting for social proof, they're waiting for that transformation and for that final validation to be like, yes, this can actually help me. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing with your clients, but it is definitely prevalent in a lot of the clients that I have right now where it's just everybody's kind of in a hold mode, which is wild to see.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm seeing that as well. And if you're like freaking out, like, I don't have a year to bring in new clients, don't worry. We're going to give you some tips on how to navigate this, how to keep people moving into your offers, even though the buying behavior is kind of shifted. So, one of the strategies that we really love and have leaned into a lot this year with both of our clients is personalization in marketing. So we've seen that these mass email blast marketings are just really less effective. They are falling on deaf ears. But when you're able to tailor your marketing and speak really, really specifically to the exact pain point problem of what that person is experiencing and kind of giving them that aha moment of why they haven't been able to move out of that state yet, we're still seeing people convert, but you just have to be way more intentional with what you're saying and who you're sending it to.
Yeah, the vagueness and kind of shouting into the void tactics aren't necessarily doing anything at all right now. And so you really have to be crystal clear on hitting that bullseye. And that may sound really difficult where you're like, well, how exactly do I hit this bullseye? Honestly, I think for me, the best strategy that I've seen convert really well right now is this kind of choose your own adventure, customize your own experience and for an example, a quiz is the probably one of the best ways to do that, where somebody is literally curating the next question, the next response, and all of these things as they go through. And it really has ramped up the delay right now that's in decision making from saying, okay, you're asking me the right questions. I feel validated by the result that I've gotten here and then it really just takes you so much closer to actual conversion when you've allowed them to share their problems, feel seen and heard by like the unique questions that are being prompted and asked. I personally think I'm leading a lot of my clients back to quizzes because it's just such a data driven superpower right now to be able to deliver exactly what the person is looking for.
Yeah, we've done a whole bunch of episodes on quizzes, so I'm sure our lovely podcast editor will link them down below. But just to give this some tangible, because I always like to give like real life experiences, Rachel and I just set up a funnel for a dietitian. She had three different offers. One had more to do with like hormone, one had more to do with gut health, and one had just kind of was more of like her general like getting started program. And Rachel used her magic during our like quiz strategy roadmap to really dig in to each of those different offers that she had. And then she went back and kind of like reversed engineered and built the quiz around that. So not only was she able to put in questions in that quiz that allowed us to gather really valuable insights for the customer about their potential clients, but it also kind of engaged them and made them feel like they were really seen and understood, and that this dietitian could really get to the root cause of their problem. And she's already been converting. She already messaged me and got that. But that's just kind of an example of this kind of like personalization power working in real life.
I will just put like a little disclaimer in here is that there's a lot of quizzes that actually aren't working right now, right? And it's because the lack of strategy behind them. I'm auditing a quiz right now that essentially just kicks people into two buckets and it's not converting. So we have to really identify how the quiz strategy is designed. And like Jess had just mentioned, it is a lot of reverse engineering so that you're not starting from the beginning to the end. You're essentially starting from the end and building back to the beginning. And it's something that, like Jess said, that our client, just got a one-on-one client from them, like, and then like another course, or what was the
One
other conversion?
program, yeah.
Yeah. And
Running
so,
for
like,
less than a month, like less than a half in a month when I did that.
yeah, and, like, this is the thing where it's, like, you're curating essentially your a whole top of funnel that's coming in with all of these various different problems, and you're really just segmenting them and putting them down, and that requires a lot of insight and knowledge based on your own customer data, which is why the quiz can be so powerful if you can properly put them into the right bucket versus having a quiz that leads to nothing. That's not going to help
Yeah.
anybody. So I want to just make sure
Yeah.
that we're very clear in the strategy behind it. That is why it's driving it to be such a successful tool right now.
Yes, yes. Quick little shameless plug. If you're interested in getting a quiz built or having us audit a quiz, definitely reach out for us. We'll put the link below to our quiz funnel services. I also think by the time this quiz comes out, I will have a how to audit your quiz funnel on YouTube coming out where we talk about some of those things that we see not working and steps you can do to fix them. All right.
Yeah.
Moving into kind of step number two of how to navigate this trust economy is the micro commitment principle. So, Rachel, tell us
Yeah.
what this is.
I personally think is really intentional in that you approach things in a way that you've layer out multiple levels of your business, right? Your offer suite should be a micro commitment, should align with the micro commitment principle in the sense that it's an ascension model. And essentially what you should be doing through your marketing, through your offers, through your sales efforts, all of these different components of your business is guiding people through small yeses before you get them to the big yes. And this is really important because, like, I think we've said this on like the nurture sequence episode and like a whole bunch of episodes is like having somebody enter into your audience and then hitting them with 5 emails and then expecting them to give you $5,000 is insane. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
And if they do that, it's because they've been lurking and sitting in your audience for years or months or whatever, like consuming everything. But that is a very rare thing. So typically what happens is that they opt in, that's a small yes. They engage, that's a small yes. They actually do the tasks that are in the lead magnet, that's another small yes. So it's these little micro commitments of them saying, I trust you enough to take another step of action with you. I trust you enough to read another blog with you. And then finally, when you've placed the offer in front of them or placed the opportunity to then purchase, it's not like they're saying, This is a huge question if I'm going to get any success out of this. The small yeses then get them to that, like, okay, I'm ready. And if you've designed your offer suite in a way that says, okay, low hanging fruit, you're going to solve this problem. I'm going to show you how I'm going to engage with you. I'm going to show you my level of detail, all of those things. Give me like mid small ticket offer, less than $100. They take that conversion to you. They have a great experience, then you upsell them to make a hands-on more something offer. Then they say, take that with you. And then they say, oh my gosh, you know what? You're actually genius. I need you to just do everything for me. And then they upsell into an actual like retainer commitment that is that possible like $5,000 series. Those are the micro yeses that take them to, or the small yeses that have committed to over and over and over that then take them to that big yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not to say that big yes doesn't always just happen from step 0, but it is very rare, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I want to again give another example. I know many of our the people that listen are coaches or service providers or consultants. So I want to talk about a shift that I made in kind of my buyer journey. I don't know if I was doing it intentionally. Maybe I knew the micro commitment principle in the back of my head, but there was a couple of other reasons that I did it too, and I'll explain it. So, number one, I used to offer free discovery calls. I think this is common practice for most coaches, most service providers. And what I did recently is I started charging for my discovery calls and reposition them as 30-minute consult calls. Because what I was recognizing as someone who loves to give value is that I was getting on these like 15-minute discovery calls. They were going to 30 minutes. And the people were walking away with really valuable, actionable
Mm,
insights that even if they didn't want to hire me, they could go on and make a big impact in their business. So it was kind of scary at first because I'm like, is this going to make my calls go down? It actually didn't. And the people that are showing up to my calls now are like, they're really ready to like do the dang thing
yeah,
because they've already put $75 down. I do say that that $75 can be put towards any service going forward. And then actually what I started doing too is like as a service provider, we often have to like scope out our services before we send a proposal. But the problem with that is a lot of times like we don't really know how deep the work's going to be until we get into the
mhm,
back end. So you scope out a
yep,
proposal, you get in the back end, and you're like, this is a bunch of mess. And then you have to go back to the client, and that feels really icky, kind of like I need to like rescope this or you need to pay me more money.
right.
Or if you're like me, you just do all the extra work for the same amount of money and like resent the client the whole time. So now what I've started doing is on my discovery calls is kind of selling out like I call them strategic planning calls or like blue funnel blueprint calls where it's a $500 service. The client and I get on a call. We talk through if it is a system or a blueprint. We're pretty much just like creating a map of all the steps, either the funnel or the system we're putting up. And then I have a really clear picture of exactly what needs to get built in their system. And then from there, I can send this to them. They kind of get a project plan of like how I would break this down. And then from there, they can hire me to implement. We can do it together, or they can take it and go do it off on their own. And again, that $500 can be applied to the next service going forward. So it's really helping me out because I'm able to accurately scope projects. And it's an easier yes for a client, even if they paid the $75, like getting them to say yes to a $6,000 project fee or a $6,000 retainer is like still a big stretch. But if I can get them to
Yeah,
say yes to 75, then 500, then $2,000 a month, it really doesn't that bad. And they've had time to get to know me. I've had time to get to know them, figure out if they have any red flags. I want to continue working with them. So I just feel like it's a overall kind of like win-win and just kind of makes
yeah.
more sense. And I wish I would have been doing this a long time ago in my business.
Yeah, I mean, so the micro commitment principle, like layered through all of that, is helping Jess then sell out her retainers, her projects, and things along those ends. And like micro commitments and like the little small things like that don't have to be a paid discovery call. They could be, signing up for a quiz, attending a live training, buying one of your templates, a low ticket offer. Each one of those yeses like builds the confidence in their decision to further invest with you, but also the familiarity of like how you do things, how they are going to engage with you and all of that. So it's really building this throughout your marketing and throughout your business is I personally think part of like the ethical sales and like intentionality and building a business that's super, super sustainable, but that it's just like works, right? It's consent on both sides of it. It's not just saying like, give me your money and then I'll show you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like this little bitty baby steps, and it's been much more helpful and much more a pleasant experience for me. All right, so let's move into number 4 and talk about the engagement metrics that you should be tracking. I think in a trust economy, quality becomes way more important than quantity, pretty much in every single aspect.
Yeah. Gone are the days that we're looking at like, oh, so many people like this or so many people commented because like if you think about how you engage on social media, like I'm just like consuming, I'm not actually like engaging. But that doesn't mean that the people who I'm like watching and lurking on to make a decision that like my like is going to qualify. My like doesn't do that. Me reading it, me doing all of that qualifies it for me. But from a vanity metric perspective, the likes and the views, it doesn't necessarily equal trust or sales. I think what's more important to measure is like engagement to questions, click through rates on links, how people are communicating with you and how they're showing up with questions in your, whether it's responses to emails or DMs or whatever like that. But I mean, that's just my own personal like engagement. Like Jess, I don't know if you engage differently. Are you like just go and like everybody's things or how do you engage for your buyers?
And I haven't even been spending that much time on Instagram lately, so
I know.
but I do go like scroll, scroll, scroll on TikTok if I think something's funny, I'll like, but that doesn't mean I'm going to buy anything from you at all
Right,
just because
right.
I thought you had this. If I go visit your website, yes, I'm looking to buy something for you. If I click through in an email, yes, I'm looking to buy something for you. If I actually send you a message, so I think being intentional about opening up that door for communication and really shifting from like I'm so excited because this is how many people like this post to I'm so excited because like this actually made a real person respond and like share their story with me kind of thing.
Yeah, I wanna know just because it came up in my brain right now is, like, how much of a skeptic the ick behaviors of marketing have, like, made me in my decision making of, like, not liking things. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, if I like this, they're gonna reach out to me and they're gonna try to sell me, and, like, then I'm not gonna have my time to lurk or whatever." So it's like it's funny how, like, really bad sales tactics can ultimately be the decision making as to why buying behaviors are changing and why engagement goes down, which pretty, interesting across the board.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, Rachel, why don't you bring us home with some actionable tips for coaches and service providers in these trust economy times?
Yeah. So first step is audit your buying journey, right? Map out those touch points that a lead can potentially have with you where you can say like how can I build more trust here? How can I create little micro commitments for them? How can I give them an opportunity to say yes without having to jump 10 steps ahead? So audit how your buying journey is currently set up. I think the most fascinating thing that you could possibly do for your business is ask the last 5 or 6 leads that you had about like how long they had been following you before they made that decision and find what that average buying decision timeline is for you because it really is going to impact the rest of your how long you make your nurture sequences, how long you're posting consistently about a post and all of that or about a offer. So that's one, buy audit your buying journey. I would say the second tip is adding some type of insight gathering tool, whether that's a quiz or if you have an app or if you have just like a straight discovery call, adding an application to a discovery call. Again, I vote quiz from an email marketing side of things. From a system side, I know Jess has advocated for applications before all of these things too. So really make data gathering a true and like backbone of your lead generation system.
I'm going to add one more thing too. The application form is great, but like make sure you're doing something with it that like when you get that application form, look through it and make sure that you're customizing like that discovery call, sales call where it's like not just generic, where you can actually like speak to specific pain points. I have been using ChatGPT to help me like gather like this is what I'm trying to sell. this is the application. Help me like prepare a sales call agenda for this. It's like
Yeah.
tailored. And I'll say my conversions have gone way, way up. And then after that sales calls, I'm taking a transcript and that's how I'm building out my proposals and my follow-up emails after so that everything is like feels really, really personalized and not generic and templated.
Totally. Totally. Okay, last actionable step is that if your offer suite is not currently mirroring the micro commitment principles, I would say that's definitely step one, especially as people are pulling back on decisions. Is that if you have a gap that is from their first step with you is free, and then their next step with you is premium, adding in someplace in the middle that they can get a little taste for how you work with them and do all of that instead of waiting for them to be ready to spend a couple $1,000s with you. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And just to wrap it out with one clean reminder, your job in your marketing is not to convince everyone to work with you. It is to make sure that the right people guide them to the right offer and give them the
mhm,
information that they need to feel like they are making an investment they feel confident in and say yes. That is the job
yes,
of marketing.
yes, it is. Well, if you've liked this episode, share it with a biz bestie, leave us a review, or better yet, send us an email on what you liked
We
about it because
do
we want
have
to hear from you
Yeah,
guys.
hello at deeplyrootedbusiness.com is our email address. You can also say hi on Instagram, like, review, share this episode if you found it helpful. And until next week,
We are
rooting for
rooting for
you.
you.